Hello, gentle ladies and men. Welcome to the Women Today show with Christine Amira. As always, I'm very honored and privileged to host the show, and I'm happy that you're here to watch a lovely, interesting episode, a topic that is so close to my heart today as we discuss how to reach our fullest potential and creative ways to grow. I'm happy with the speaker as well today. Our panelist will be the CEO of Schneider Electric, a woman who has worked so hard, and I'm sure with all the nuggets of wisdom that she's able to share and the journey that she's had, her career journey, we'll be able to learn so much from her. So I'm glad you're watching, and let us know what you think about the episode once you're done. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and we look forward to hearing from you. Everyone, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Women Today show. This is a space, a positive space where we seek to inspire, encourage, motivate, educate, enlighten. The words go on, but it's everything positive, to inspire each of you to reach your fullest potential. And it will be my honor, my utmost humility, what else do I say, divine favor, if each one of you leaves this room different from how you walked in at every point. Today's conversation is interesting. I liked the topic when I was writing it in regards to how to achieve our fullest potential on creative ways to grow. And I believe each one of us is on a journey. And the reason why you're all sitting here today is because, one, is, you also want to reach your fullest potential. Life is short. Life is short as it is. And it's good if you're living life to reach higher and higher and go to the fullest potential. Most people would say, motivational speakers would say, find your purpose or something like that. But ideally, it's just what your impact in life is. And we're here to do that all together. Our theme on Women Today show is always on your journey, Every milestone, every up, every down is a journey to something or somewhere. And it could be that your journey is for you, but somehow telling the story to somebody else and owning the journey for yourself, it's also healing to know that this path is, leading to somewhere, and that's what life entails. But by telling your story now, you inspire others, you tell them the truth about the journey that has been, and coming from a space of wisdom, now pouring yourself out to others is good, so that young people save themselves the trouble of trying to find out things that all along, and there's a space for that. So ideally, today we are talking mostly about women in STEM, but the room is not just with women in STEM. Okay, I can see maths, water, that's, technical, there's science, technology, engineering, and maths, basically. And why women in STEM is because we all know, there's a gender STEM gap, It's not news that there's a gender STEM gap. For example, the Institute of Engineers in Kenya says that out of 6,444 engineers, female members are only 436, forming an insignificant 7%. Only, you can imagine. Yet STEM is one of the most lucrative sectors ever. STEM literally runs the world, if you ask me. It literally runs the world. And women need to be there. I see that gap. I have lived that gap since I was young. I'm sure every one of you knows about that. The reasons why women are not in STEM already. Like, there are many, but you can divide them. And sometimes all of them will stem into gender stereotypes, lack of confidence. There's what? They call it imposter syndrome and all these other things. But all of them will come from, the gender aspect, the idea that, of course, everything might look male-dominated and women are not inspired to reach their fullest potential. But the one big reason that I keep looking at, and I feel like this is where I can come in to help lessen that gap, is that there's a challenge that women are not joining the STEM sector because of lack of female role models. This is basically because, of course, you know that the women, of course, represented in the STEM sector are a few, but then also because they don't see these women leaders out there, or even if they see them, they look far ahead, you can't reach them. Unless I'm working, for example, with Carol directly, how am I going to be inspired, to reach my fullest potential? And they don't, and I'm happy that there's ladies like you who, of course, will be out there, be in the media space to be seen and all that, but there are others who will decide, you know what, I'm too busy, or life is moving too fast, and you just do and move. So there's that part where I believe that each one of us has a role to play. The women in this room are all powerful in their own vocation, and if by doing this and continuing with what you're doing to reach your fullest potential, you can inspire others, that is great. And Women Today Show loves to create that platform for everyone to be able to reach their fullest potential. So I'll stop blabbing and yapping and get on to the point, because I don't want to spend too much of your time. You've really done us a good honor coming to come and speak to us today. And I just want to, of course, now welcome Carol Koech, the CEO of Schneider Electric, for a conversation that is quite inspiring. Welcome to Women Today Show.
Thank you very much, Christine.
Yeah. Okay, so I've been following you on LinkedIn for a while, and I've seen that you have put a few articles that, I guess you draw from life lessons, your exposure, everything around your environment. There's one even around fire that I saw the other day. I was like, wow, you sat by a fireplace and thought of something to write, which is quite nice. I love it. I've been following and reading the articles. What has inspired you to start that, honestly? Yeah, like blogging.
Yeah. To be honest, I have had this as a dream for a very long time, but there's always God's timing. So I eventually so I've been reading quite a bit, and I used to be very scared to write, but then I got encouragement from my team to put my thoughts out there. And as I have written, I guess it's getting better and better. But really what I do is just observation. So my inspiration comes from everyday experiences, and there's always something to learn from our everyday experiences. Yeah.
Okay. I love it. I've been following short, precise, straight to the point, very inspiring. I love it. But I'm sure your journey has not just always been like that. You've said that you've always wanted to do this all along, meaning there are things you've thought about, always wanted to do. Take yourself back to that point before your first job ever, before the first job ever. What would you say exactly, but were you like at that time? What were your thoughts like? Did you see yourself reaching to where you are now, the CEO of a whole Schneider Electric, a global company,
Just like anybody else coming out of university, your first step is getting that first job. Mm-hmm. I would say I was lucky in the sense that I did not really tarmac. So I was lucky in that sense. However, my first job was not in the STEM field.
Okay.
Yes, mm-hmm. I will tell you about that. So I started interviewing, immediately after, we were not even graduated yet, immediately after finishing for this Big Four. Mm-hmm. And I got selected to join KPMG. Mm-hmm. So that's where I started my career. But before then, I had been doing an internship at Safaricom. Which had come out of an award that I had won when I was in my 4th year of the university. So I was busy doing that internship, and then this job at KPMG came, and I took it. So I guess it was just the beginning of a journey that I had no clue how it was going to end up. I still believe there's a lot more ahead, but I can speak of what has, come behind me. Yeah. Yes.
So you started at Safaricom, well, always a hard worker, yeah, I could say, because I started at Safaricom. You won an award in high school, and then started what?
I won an award at the university. At the university. Well, high school, yes, but wow. At the university. Yes.
At every stage, high school, university, and then now you get to Safaricom,
Yes.
and then KPMG,
Yes.
all these big brands. I mean, I love it. So would you say hard work is like the key secret to everything?
I think for me it was probably a combination of hard work, but also luck, to be honest. I don't even know how I got selected to some of those. I was not the most confident at that time. My English a lot heavily influenced by my background. But somehow the people that made decisions saw something in me and took a bet. Yeah.
Okay. And you actually led me to the next question. What made you exude that level of confidence now? How did it just come out? You know?
I to be honest, I guess confidence builds over time. And at the beginning, your confidence levels may not be, as high, but as you continue to work, as you acquire more skills, as you develop, then confidence just comes. I guess that is just how it works.
Yeah.
For me, that is how it's been.
There's never a level of practice like today I'm going to be like, okay, so every time I go to this office, I am just fidgeting. So like something you have to do. Mine is Mississippi, to count. Mississippi 1, Mississippi 2, Mississippi 3. It takes time. By the time I get to 10, okay, it's easy.
I'm actually trying to remember days that I've not been confident. Obviously, every time you're doing something for the first time, there's always the butterflies. Mm-hmm. But knowing that the person sitting across the table or across the room is a human being, I'm sure they also have their own fears. So we're all bringing the fears together and let's face it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know, in your journey, your career journey all along, are there like people who have played a very key role in your life, you'd say?
Yes, definitely. So after I left KPMG, which I didn't stay for long, I joined Unilever as a management trainee program. And I remember, going through the interview process and getting selected. And then joining, was supposed to go back to engineering because remember, I had studied engineering. And then I had this one manager in the organization that said, no, you must come to my team because you already was working at KPMG. So remember, I didn't even have any finance qualification. So he took a bet on me, really put a lot of trust, but also supported me to get the right qualifications to be able to do that job, and just held my hand. So I would say that probably was the beginning of having what we would call corporate supporters. Some people call them sponsors. I don't. And I guess you get these people to see you or to believe in you based on basically what you also offer. So if you are that reliable person that can be trusted, then they somehow show up. They've shown up in my career all along. I find it very easy to build trust. And when I build trust, then, naturally people would like to have you in their teams. Yeah. Okay. So many people have been supportive of my career, even today. Yeah. And I also make an effort to be seen, to be visible, to make those connections and to have them at, I would say, more personal level, in the sense that, get them to know me well, to know my strengths, to know my ambitions. So even as those decisions are made, my demands or my ambitions are on the table. Yeah. So they are not guessing. Yeah.
Okay. How has timing or like making use of opportune time worked for you in your career?
Timing, I don't know. When I look back, I've always felt that I am ready to make the next move. And when I'm ready, somehow
things work out.
Opportunities came up. So that has been my mantra. So I focus on the current role, do it very well, but when I'm ready to move to the next one, they always say where you focus, you will see what you want. Yeah.
Okay. So currently you're the CEO of Schneider Electric. What about your role today really inspires you?
Oh, a lot, a lot. So today my role is very wide. So I'm managing an organization which is fairly complex, with a lot of moving parts. So my role entails managing people, managing a business that has a bottom line expectation as well as a top line with money in the bank. I have to manage the external aspects of the role. So, interacting with the external stakeholders, industry people, media, name it.
Yes.
But I also have a responsibility of managing, it's a global organization. So of course there are many other layers above me, and it's a matrix organization. But I guess for me, what I like about my role today is that it allows me to really test my capacity to handle very diverse topics.
Yeah.
So in a day, I can range from, an internal issue to an external issue to a global issue. Yeah.
Okay. And is it everything you'd imagine the role would be, or are you learning along the way?
A lot of learning.
Yeah.
A lot of learning and thinking on the feet. Because you face new dynamics all the time, things you've never done before. So you have to think and use common sense, and still ensuring that you're operating within the principles. Yeah.
Okay. So you had the greatest trait you had back then, I got from the conversation, was that you were always ready, and you'd give your best every time, ready for change, and you'd give your best every time you're in a position, in a role, and that brought in so many people to help or support you along your career. Now, what is your greatest trait?
I think today, if I look at what my role entails, it's really delivering through others. So it's no longer about me, but it's about how do you give other people a chance to deliver the expectations. So I spend a lot of time having supporting and working with my team, ensuring that they are fully supported, they have the right tools, they are, in case they are stuck, I help them to be unstuck. Yeah. So that's really what I'm doing now more than before, where I was probably doing the job myself. Yeah.
Okay. And now, what's the best advice you've ever received? Okay, maybe put it like, what's your mantra?
What's my mantra? I particularly don't have a mantra, but I show up. I think for me, it's showing up. There are days, definitely, it looks very complicated, but showing up is, for me, the first step. Advice I've received, I've been working for almost, 19 years now, so a lot of conversations from different people. But I would say, really putting your best foot forward in whatever the situation. Even when things look very bleak, nothing is permanent. And then for me, I never take anything personal. Yeah.
Okay, that's key. Never taking anything personal in a world where everybody's trying to get personal.
Yeah.
Especially being a woman in power, I can imagine. But then I wanted to find out, from your opinion, what do you think is stopping women today from reaching their fullest potential?
I think we can find as many excuses as possible, but I also think it's very individual. So, what stops you is not necessarily what stops the other woman. For many, probably the opportunity and where to find it. For others, it is the fear. I think this is big for many women, the fear of being discovered, noticed, but also stepping in. Sometimes our personal circumstances, some people, values are different. Some people would say, okay, if I step into this role, it might take more of my personal time. It might require that I travel a bit, and this could impact my personal life or family or children, whatever. So depending on the season of your life, then, you would make those decisions. But I guess the main one is that there are fewer women, especially if you are talking about STEM field, who need to step up. So you're starting from a low base, then naturally it would be lower as you go up. Yeah, that's how I see it. But there are many, many reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know that as much as you've said life has been able to be good, you didn't have to tarmac, basically, things like that. But there must have been challenges along the way. You've worked so hard and you've seen the rewards, the returns have been good. Are you open to talk about the challenges you've had along the way? Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, it's not a perfect world. I've been stuck in roles. I've been in roles that I didn't like. And so it was always about navigating. I've had some bosses that were not so great. I've also had bosses that were great. But let me just talk about a specific experience that I had. One time when I was working for an organization, and I had just come back from maternity leave, and I was trying to get back the work that I was doing, but nobody was giving it back to me. And then, a month later, I get a redundancy notification that my role was falling off. And that was really, for me, crushing me. One, because I had just, taken up a risk. I had actually made a career switch, which we'll talk about. And getting that redundancy letter crushed me because I had never imagined that I could actually be declared redundant. I thought I was smart, I'm good, so why would they declare such a good person redundant? So that brought me back to humility, to realize that, organizations are not our families. And sometimes, decisions have to be taken for the business. And now I'm sitting in a position that I see where they were coming from. Okay. But you see, at that time,
management level
yes,
now.
At that time you don't understand. You feel that it's personal, And at that time I was still very much taking things personal. Anyway, I was lucky to navigate that season, and luckily I was able to find another job. And I remember I almost framed that letter because it reminded me so many things. I had sold my personal car because I had a company car. And guess what? I was going to walk down, out of that company on foot because I didn't have another car. And assuming the redundancy had gone to the end, it was really, I was not in the best position from a financial perspective. I'd taken some decisions based on the big job that I had gotten, which lasted for a short time. Remember, I had a small baby. I'd just come back from maternity leave. So all those, dynamics, the timing was not right. Mm-hmm. So luckily I got another role, but it really, I would say, made me look at things from a very different perspective. And today I say, redundancy is not the end of life. I guess there's life after that. And many people just need to know that. In any other setback that you get, because there are many setbacks in life. Yeah.
So you work in this life knowing you can achieve all that,
yes,
but at some point it can also go away,
yes,
and it's not.
And really, those and the achievements you have should not define who you are, because those are more like things that you've done rather than who you are.
Who you are,
yeah,
as a person.
Yeah.
So you said you had done a career stretch before getting the redundancy letter. What was that about? So
remember I went to Unilever and worked in finance. So then I moved to GE, still in a finance role. So spent about the first 7 years of my career in finance. Yeah. And then I went back to do my master's. And it was while doing the master's that I discovered that probably I had more potential. So I took a risk and moved from a finance role to a sales role.
Oh, wow.
And I did this because there are people in the organization that believed I could do it. And that's how I moved. And, so it was 1.5 years later, maybe 2 years, almost 2 years, that I get this redundancy letter. I had really not gotten a chance to show that I could, do this new role. And so I guess it was also questioning my decisions and the risks I had taken, because I wasn't so sure then that I could get another job in sales, because remember, then I don't have a track record. Yeah. Do I go back to finance? Then I've not done it for the last 2 years. What happens to me? So it was a really difficult period. Yeah.
And now the next role you took in was in?
I still remained in sales.
In sales.
Yes.
Wow, and I think that was good, because it was leading you to the journey. For example, like now, as a CEO, you need experience in finance and sales at the same time. So it was good.
Yeah.
Yes, every challenge has its own.
Yes.
If you look at it, it's a good side to everything.
Yeah.
Wow, tricky. I had a conversation with a lady from Safaricom. I was moderating a conversation in Safaricom, and you talked about something in regards to motherhood, where you, as a career woman, if you take a break, what that means, right? So there's a lady who had just, so the event was by Safaricom. So she was on maternity leave and she came for the event. And her main question was, and maybe I'm asking this for everybody else in the room, basically, that how does she, or how as a woman, if you come back from maternity leave, basically, how are you able to catch up, There's the idea that she talked about where she believes her brain became slower. There's the idea where everybody else, the gender dynamics, the men there are just like, now this is a mother now, you can't give her tougher roles. And she wants to be able to compete after, maternity, still be able to be a woman in tech that is respectable also, and maintain the credibility that she had before, but this time not everybody defining her as a mother, only a mother. She wants to be more than that. I don't know what advice you'd give that for women today, women in the room, women who might listen to this, the return to work journey, how to get on and do the best you can.
It's very interesting because I guess even as we work, we still must fulfill our other lives, I would say, expectations, responsibility, whatever you want, or choices. Maybe I'll share a story about my return to work, that from there, hopefully people will learn something. So when I went on, my last 2 children, I got them when I was fairly deep in corporate and had roles that involved traveling. So the first one, immediately after I got a job, that was like, the baby was like maybe 5 months. I got a job that needed to travel. And then I quickly got pregnant again and got another baby. And so I remember when I was telling my boss, hey, there's another baby on the way, he was so scared, he thought I was going to resign. Oh. And I was like, no, don't worry. But when I got back from maternity leave, I needed to travel. And I also wanted to be a perfect mom and breastfeed exclusively for 6 months. So I have told this story before, so those that have heard my story would say. So I remember traveling. I would travel, maybe my role then was about 50-60% of travel. I have a 4-month-old baby. And I would, go expressing milk and keeping them in freezers of hotels and packing them back, because I was saying, okay, I have a choice to say I'm not taking this job. Then what do I do? Plus, my baby is very young, so has no clue that I'm not even here. As long as they are fully fed, that's fine. So I navigated that season, and travel for me was not a reason to and people could challenge and say you're leaving your baby. It's a choice I made. I had a full support system that really helped me to grow the baby and to take care of the baby. My family was fairly supportive. So I usually would challenge women to say, you can find every reason not to do what you want to do because of babies. And you can also find every reason to do what you want to do because of babies. So it's a dual... It's really dual if you like to approach it. So depending on where and what you see is ahead or what you're giving up, then you make those choices accordingly. Yeah, it really has to be a personal choice. Yeah.
Okay. I love that. I don't know, it just came randomly and I thought to ask. It wasn't in the plan. But then we're talking about creative ways to grow. Yeah. And you have talked about, from your journey, moving from finance, getting into sales, a challenge, And I also ask people when they're registering for the event to maybe also ask the questions. What question would they ask you? Right? Yeah. There were 3 questions that came up. First was, what motivated the moves you made from finance to sales and eventually general management and strategy? That's one question. And then they tied it to, how do you handle working as a female leader in a male-dominated sector? So what motivated my moves? To be honest, it was really a gamble. Now I can say that. I don't think I had a clue. Why I wanted to move out of finance was because I felt that I wasn't realizing my full potential. So I needed something more exciting. I was working for an organization that had technical, I would say, products. And I said, hey, but I studied engineering. I can, dust off my
degree and go into the field. The kind of jobs that were open at that time were more commercial related, and so probably that was also the right thing to do, because then I wasn't going to move from a finance role in one organization to a sales role in another. Nobody would have taken, a risk on me. So it was easy to do that within the same organization. And really it was because those jobs were the ones that were open, and I wanted something more exciting. Yeah.
Okay. And then the second one, still tied to the same person. How do you handle working as a female leader in a male-dominated sector?
I don't know. I have to always remind myself, I never show up as a female leader. I show up as a leader. Okay. So when I show up as a leader, then my gender is really at the back burner. It's not the thing that shows up. So it's not woman and then leader. It is first of all leader. And so typically the same challenges that leaders across any area would face are the same challenges that I face as a leader. Now, being in a male-dominated industry, for me, I've never really seen that as an issue to discuss, because if you show up as a leader, you're a leader. So people will come with their own biases, but if you're really being a leader, then over time they accept you because you're then being, you're not bringing in your womanness to the leadership. Yeah.
Now you see, you bring in your own other themes. Now I want to ask you about that womanness. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are gender stereotypes in the office, and not office per se, but career-wise, journey moving forward. What are your thoughts about that? Somebody maybe just saying, she's acting like that because she's a woman, or that's just womanness. Or even you as a leader, there are those stereotypes that are there about women, and there's so many other women engineers and women leaders under you. How do you mentor them to grow? But then, women, you're a woman, so you'll be defined by your femininity. But then there's that one that is almost like condescending. That womanness, you're just acting so womanly. That's a woman thing to do. That's condescending, So I don't know what you'd say about that in regards to that for a career woman.
That's a very difficult question, to be honest, and I stand to be judged on this. But depending on the kind of colleagues or environment you're in, I think being aware is very important, and being emotionally aware as such. So for people to describe you as that woman, there must be certain things that you do. I don't know what those things are, but if you're showing up as an individual in a corporate environment and being respectful, but also not looking like you're the lesser person, but really, if you're on the table taking your seat and being an equal player or party in the table. So for me, if I look at some of the experiences I've had in my career, I've had to sit in many tables where I'm the only woman, and I never reminded myself that I'm a woman. I just said I'm on this table because I deserve to be on this table and I have something to offer. And I make sure that my voice is heard. So I don't sit back and wait for someone to notice me. Say, what do you have to say?
Yes. Give the woman in the room the voice.
No, but also not being aggressive to shove, but really just being respectful and typically that is what you would be expected to do. But sometimes you may have to see and study the environment and adapt accordingly. So it's something that you learn over time to play. But I don't expect to be favored because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
That I don't expect. Or to be somebody could decide to pull for me a seat. I will appreciate that because they're being a gentleman. Yeah. But that's it. It's not a favor. It's just that you decided. Yes. Yeah. So it's not like I will give you any favors out of it as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that perspective. I honestly do. Another question was, how does a creative woman, wow, I love this. How does a creative woman source for resources to enable, I think, growth? I don't know what, okay, let me just read as it is. So how does a creative woman source for resources to enable growth technology? I think they're trying to say career growth, but maybe the typos. But it's ideally, how does a creative woman source for resources?
I don't know what kind of resources.
Maybe I could say, I believe this is for financial resources. If not, let's look at it first from the financial aspect. If they're trying to grow a business, what are the intake, basically? How would they source for resources?
That would be a difficult question for me. I've not really started a business, so I may not be the right person to offer advice. I might be misleading. So I would pass that.
You'd pass that question. Okay. So then the next question is, how is it holding such a role plus raising a family? This question always comes up.
Yeah.
How do you balance work, family, and how has your growth journey been to where you are now?
So I think I answered the last part of the question, more or less. Any job you do, I guess you come as a whole person. Whatever job you do, you come as a whole person. So for me, that's exactly how I come. I consider, life being integrated. Am I doing well every time, everywhere? No. Am I trying? Yes. So that's the point. So there are days I will probably put more effort at home. If my child is unwell, then I'll make sure that I'm putting more effort at home. There are certain things I try to do, like drop my children to school, be there for those big things in school. I try to show up. And also at the workplace, there are times that, there's probably a project that requires more of my attention, then I will work late. So it's really just for me an integrated life and choosing when to focus more on which side. I wouldn't say that my life is fully balanced. It's not. But I would say I'm keeping the balls up in the air, trying not to drop some. That's all I'm trying.
So if I would ask, is there anything like work-life balance?
I don't know. I'm looking for that someone who has found it, because I would like to learn from them.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to wind up with one last question. This one is actually from
But let me just go back to the work-life balance bit. I think for me, there are also ways that you can achieve balance. This could be maybe unique to a developing world. Having a support system really, really helps with your life balance, because then, especially at the home, if you can delegate whatever you can delegate, then it will probably allow you more time to do the more meaningful activities. And similarly at the workplace, learning to delegate so that you don't kill yourself with work. Of course, as a leader, naturally, you will expect to deliver through others. But if you're the person doing the job, delegating, but also being efficient with your time, so that you're not coming to work and probably spending the first 70% of your time doing whatever is not productive, and then having to work late because you didn't spend time. So being really selfish about your time is very critical, because it can then help you to balance it out. But in terms of having a perfect balance, I guess it's a seesaw.
It's a seesaw.
Yes,
yeah. It
that's how I see it.
Season, but it's a seesaw.
Yeah.
I like that you mentioned that part about, ask for help, basically, because women also believe that you have to bend over backwards, break your back, so that people can say you're a strong woman. But ideally, it's good to ask for help where you need it, so you can be more productive also, and so that you just don't kill yourself. I like that. Don't kill yourself. The last question I would ask before I open up to anybody who has a question is, how would you say, as well, as other women in your position, how would you say is the best way you can use your opportunities to empower other girls and other women? So basically, it's a challenge to you. Like, how are you trying to empower other women, and how would you try and also encourage other women leaders in your position to?
So I guess it's a challenge to the women leaders. I think just showing up and being seen and heard, so that people can get role models, is one way. That is actually free. It doesn't take effort to do that. So making sure that people know what it takes to be a leader. But also then holding other women up, giving them opportunity, throwing them into, opportunities where they can shine, and helping them to realize their potential at the organization, but also, in the different spaces.
Yeah.
There are many things that you could talk about in detail, but I guess we can leave it at that today.
Yeah. Did I say it's the last question?
Yes,
I lied.
You said.
I have one last one.
Yes.
To be or not to be on a board, and how do you know now that you're ready to be in a board versus just, of course, playing other roles within the organization?
For me, I think it's really a personal decision and depends also on your career trajectory. So for people that probably want to play, I was having this conversation with a friend who wants to venture into consulting. So if you want to venture into consulting, if you're consulting for a competitor, or if you're consulting and you are sitting in a board of a competitor, will the other guy give you the job? So would you rather not be? Those are the things that you explore. But I believe, depending on what you would like for your career, then board opportunities are definitely something to consider. I'm personally considering them, it's a choice you make based on your career trajectory. Yeah. I believe it's not the only opportunity to grow. I believe there are many other opportunities that you can grow your career. Maybe not necessarily sitting in boards. It would be great. I'm sure not all of us will get the opportunity. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sure all of you have learned something or two. If you have any questions, now is the time.
How do you know it's time to move? I've been on this role for too long.
For me, I just know because at that time I'm not learning anything. I have I'm doing things with almost my eyes closed. Then I know it's the right time to move. And maybe there's no more challenge, nothing is more exciting. And maybe there's also limited opportunity to expand that within the current role.
Yeah. I have two questions. How does your senior management look like in terms of gender? And how does the rest of the organization look like? And then let me take you back to university. How did your class, your engineering class, look like in terms of gender? And what challenges did the women in that class face? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, very good questions. So my current leadership team has about 5 women out of 13. I don't know, you can do the percentage. I think it's about 40-something percent. My overall organization should be about 30% female. We are in a very technical field. So, we've grown. I think 3 years ago we were about 23%. Now it's 30%. We are very, very intentional in growing the gender balance, but also not just growing the gender balance, but hiring the right profiles. In the university, our class was about 70. Our class had the highest women. We were about 9. I'll tell you, the challenges that women faced were the same challenges the men faced. It was tough. I'm sure anybody who went to an engineering school would know. So I wouldn't say the challenges were unique to women. It was common across. Yeah.
My question is, how do you deal with intimidation in your career growth, especially from the other gender?
Intimidation. From the other. Give me some examples.
Just say, before you became the general manager, what were the difficulties you had to go through? How do you prove yourself?
I wouldn't answer the how to, because I don't think that is going to be prescribing the answer. But women have, many women usually would allow others to take their ideas. There's a concept called mansplaining. So you say something, And then the other person picks it up and say, and the way they will say is exactly what you said, but what will be hard is how they've said it. So how do you take it back? How do you take it back? So you say, yeah, thank you for elaborating my point. Now, this is exactly how I meant it, because it's your point. So I think women have to learn to be assertive until people just give you respect. If you allow yourself to be intimidated, then unfortunately you will have set the rules, or you will have set the expectations of how people will treat you. So speak up. Speak up. If the organization allows you to speak up or give feedback, and give feedback to the person who you feel intimidated you, and say, hey, I didn't feel good about how you treated me here. It made me feel intimidated. Sometimes it could be unconscious. Maybe people are not really doing this deliberately. And I go back to my point I said earlier. I don't take those things personally. It's about them, not me. Yeah.
I've just remembered you said you were judged redundant, yeah? At one point. Can you attribute it to your maternity or something?
No, I wouldn't.
No,
I wouldn't. I think the business was reevaluating their presence and also how they were covering the market. I think it was just a coincidence. It was just a coincidence that I had been on maternity leave when this was being done. Yes. But I wouldn't attribute it to my maternity. It would have happened to a man as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing nuggets of wisdom. I hope we can do this again sometime. Maybe the same approach, different approach, but I hope to welcome you again, and you'll be willing to come back and just share your story and nuggets of wisdom.
Thank you very much. I hope you've benefited from the little sharing.
Nuggets,
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Thank you so much for being part of Women Today show. It's been an honor to having brought a conversation that has inspired, educated, enlightened you today. As always, we look forward to always interacting with you. Remember to like, remember to share with a friend who might benefit from this. Remember to comment, subscribe to the channel, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you for making Women Today show what it is today. Bye-bye. See you next time. Bye.